The local news flickered on the screen, a segment about a family moving out of their suburban home. But for Emily Cole, the image stopped her cold.
That's the Callahan house.
She hadn't thought about that night in months. But now the memory crashed back. The newscaster's voice was distant, mentioning an old tragedy at that address.
It's the night I babysat for them.
3 months earlier, a last-minute text had set everything in motion. The message from Mrs. Callahan was brief. Emily, emergency. Can you come tonight? Sophie's asleep. Just need an adult. 14 Oak Lane.
I shouldn't have said yes.
But she did. She grabbed her keys and drove through the cold December night. The road stretched ahead, empty and silent under the winter sky. The Callahan house emerged from the darkness, its windows dark, except for a single lamp glow upstairs.
This place feels swallowed by the woods. So quiet.
Mr. Callahan opened the door before she could knock, his coat already on and his face tight with impatience.
Emily, good. We're running behind. My wife will explain everything.
Sophie's already asleep. First door on the right. She won't stir. There's food in the fridge. Help yourself. And please, don't go to the room at the end of the hall. It's just storage. We're a bit private.
Emily's gaze drifted to the dim hallway, the grandfather clock ticking with an almost accusatory rhythm.
Storage? That sounded like a warning.
The couple hurried into the night. The door slammed. Emily turned the deadbolt, the sound echoing in the silent house.
Just a normal babysitting job. Nothing to worry about.
She climbed the stairs, each step groaning under her weight. The only light came from a single bulb at the top. Past the family photos on the wall, the faces lost in shadow. She paused outside Sophie's door. Through the crack in the door, Sophie lay still in her pink bedroom, a stuffed animal tucked under her arm.
She looks so peaceful. No nightmares for her.
Emily retreated into the hallway. The house waited, its silence somehow heavier than before. Downstairs, she settled on the couch with a textbook. The grandfather clock ticked on, a relentless metronome in the dark.
This place feels wrong. Like I am being watched from every corner.
She tried to read, but her eyes kept drifting to the shadows that seemed to stretch a little too far. At 10:45, the clock chimed, its deep bongs cutting through the stillness like a warning.
Just an hour and a half until they're back. Then I can get out of here.
At 11 p.m., the grandfather clock chimed again, its heavy toll echoing through the silent house. A faint sound followed the last chime, a child's high-pitched laugh, distant but unmistakable.
That wasn't Sophie.
She froze, telling herself it was just the house settling. Then it came again, clearer, from the top of the stairs.
It's coming from the attic. There is no one else here.
Her heart hammered as she rose from the couch and moved to the bottom of the staircase. The stairs led up into darkness, the only light a dim glow from the second-floor landing.
I have to go up. But what if Mrs. Callahan was wrong?
She gripped the banister, her eyes straining to see beyond the shadows. The house held its breath, waiting for her to take the first step. The step groaned as she shifted her weight onto it, but she didn't stop. She had to know. By the time she reached the second floor, the only guide was the thin strip of light under Sophie's door. She pushed Sophie's door open a few more inches. The girl hadn't moved, her breathing soft and steady.
She's out cold. That laugh definitely didn't come from in here.
She pulled the door almost shut, then froze. The laugh came again, a tinny echo from the far end of the hall.
Not Sophie. Not the bathroom. It's coming from that door.
Her footsteps were feather-light as she crept past the bathroom, empty, dark, toward the door she'd been warned about. The door at the end had a small brass plaque. It read, "Guest Room," in elegant, tarnished script.
Guest room? They said it was storage. Why would they lie?
The laugh came once more, muffled by the wood, right on the other side. Emily's hand trembled an inch from the doorknob, but her eyes dropped from the doorknob to a faint green glow pooling on the floorboards. A baby monitor receiver was plugged into the wall beside the door. its screen lit and showing something. She picked it up. The grainy infrared feed showed a wooden crib with an ornate carved headboard.
There's no crib in this house. I've checked every room.
As she watched, the blankets inside the crib shifted, a small, unseen hand moving beneath the fabric. Her hand shot to the doorknob and twisted. The lock held firm, cold and unyielding.
Locked? Why would they lock a guest room from the outside?
The laugh echoed again from the monitor's tinny speaker, so close it might have been in the room with her. She stumbled backward, eyes fixed on the monitor screen, the locked door a dark sentinel behind her. The crib on the screen remained, its tiny occupant a silent, impossible presence. The shape in the crib shifted again, rolling over until a tiny hand broke the surface of the blanket and grasped at the air. The fingers uncurled, stretching outward in restless, infant-like motions that made Emily's skin crawl. The laugh burst from the monitor speaker again, tinny and close, as if the child had pressed its mouth right to the microphone.
I need to call her. Mrs. Callahan will know what's happening. She has to.
Emily fumbled for her phone, her hand shaking so badly she nearly dropped it twice before she could swipe the screen. She scrolled to the contact she'd saved from that night, pressed the call button, and held her breath. The line buzzed once, twice. She watched the monitor, the tiny arm still stretching, searching. The child in the crib rolled again, a chubby fist now pressing against the camera lens, filling the screen.
Pick up. Oh God, please pick up.
The phone rang on, its steady tone mixing with the monitor's static, the green glow the only light in the endless dark. The line clicked, and a woman's voice answered, steady, but with an undercurrent that silenced Emily's words.
Emily, I know. Don't open the door, no matter what you hear.
She knows. How could she know?
We'll be home in 10 minutes. Go downstairs to the kitchen and wait there.
What is in there? Why is the door locked? Tell me what's happening.
Just do as I say, sweetheart. Don't open it. Not for anything.
The line went dead. Emily stared at the phone, then at the monitor, the fist now uncurled, a tiny palm flush against the lens. She set the monitor down on the hallway floor, its green glow receding as she backed away toward the stairs. The kitchen was dark, the island a slab of shadow. She crouched behind it, listening to the silence that now felt heavier than the laugh.
She didn't even sound surprised, like she was waiting for my call.
The silence in the kitchen shattered as a faint scratching started upstairs, slow and deliberate, like fingernails on wood.
That's coming from the room. It's trying to get out.
The laugh followed, a gleeful echo cascading down the stairs. Closer now, no longer muffled by the locked door.
10 minutes. She said 10 minutes. Where are they?
A heavy thud shook the ceiling, something massive dropping onto the floor directly above her, rattling the light fixture.
That's not a child. That weight, it's something else entirely.
She stared at the clock on the microwave, counting the seconds. 7:15, 1 minute down, an eternity left. The scratching resumed, dragging along the wall this time, moving toward the top of the staircase just beyond the hallway. Then headlights swept across the kitchen window, and the sound of a car engine cut through the house's hold. The front door opened, and with it, a gust of cold air swept in, carrying the urgent footsteps of the returning parents. Mrs. Callahan didn't rush to Emily. She walked past the kitchen doorway toward the stairs, her face unreadable.
She's not checking on Sophie. She's going straight to that room.
Minutes later, she reappeared at the top of the stairs, the baby monitor dangling from her hand, its screen dead. She descended and motioned Emily into the living room. Mr. Callahan stood by the fireplace, an envelope in his hand.
You handled it. Here. Don't ask questions.
He pressed the envelope into her palm. The weight of it, easily double the agreed fee, felt like a bribe for silence.
What's in that room? You owe me an explanation.
We owe you nothing but our gratitude. Take the money. Go home, and never mention this night to anyone.
Mr. Callahan walked to the front door and opened it wide. The night air rushed in, sharp and final. Emily stepped onto the porch, the door clicking shut behind her. Snow began to dust the cash, still clutched in her fist. Emily's car crawled down the empty road, the dashboard lights painting her face in cold blue and green. The envelope of cash lay on the passenger seat, but she couldn't bring herself to touch it again. At home, she dropped the money on her nightstand and collapsed into bed, but sleep refused to come.
Every time I close my eyes, I see that monitor, that tiny hand.
By morning, she sat at her desk, a cold coffee forgotten beside her laptop. Her fingers found the search bar. She typed the Callahan address and waited as the results populated. No social media profiles, no news articles. Then a buried property record surfaced, detailing the sale of the house 8 years earlier. The transaction note read, "Sold under duress, family circumstances."
8 years ago. That's the same year Sophie was born. Something happened in that house.
She pulled up a fresh search, typing Callahan family accident with a tremor in her hands. Search results loaded a single scanned newspaper clipping from a local paper dated 8 years earlier. The headline read, "Local family mourns loss." The article mentioned the Callahan residence and a 6-month-old baby boy who died suddenly. No cause was given.
6 months old. That's the crib in the monitor. That was a real baby.
She scrolled, but the piece was brief. Just a notice in the community section, as if the town had already moved on.
They kept his room. All these years. They never let go.
With shaking hands, she saved the clipping to her desktop, her heart pounding against her ribs. She leaned back in her chair, eyes fixed on the screen, the murky image of the article burning into her memory. The fragment read, "Beloved son, age 6 months, passed away unexpectedly at the family home."
A child died in that house, and he's still there.
The need to see the house for herself was overpowering. Within the hour, she was parked across the street from the Callahan house.
The baby would be 8 now. That laugh sounded like a child's giggle, not an infant's cry. Did they lock the room to keep his memory a shrine, or to keep something from leaving?
She stared at the silent house, its windows blank, the yard empty in the fading afternoon light.
I shouldn't be here. If they see me, they'll call the police. Or worse, demand another answer.
The minutes stretched. Nothing stirred. The house seemed to hold its breath, daring her to leave.
But if I leave now, I'll never know. There has to be something. A crack in their perfect wall of silence.
The afternoon shadows bled into evening, the temperature dropping inside the car as she kept her vigil. A lamp flickered on in an upstairs window. She stiffened, but no one appeared. For now, she just watched, the weight of that locked room pressing down like the silence before a scream. Dusk deepened. The front door opened and Mrs. Callahan stepped onto the porch, her coat pulled tight against the chill.
Her face, exhausted, distant. She's been living with whatever's up there for 8 years.
She called out for Sophie, her voice carrying a weariness that scraped at Emily's nerves. A small shape darted across the lawn. Sophie, her blonde hair flying as she bolted inside without a backward glance. As Mrs. Callahan turned to follow, she paused. Her eyes swept the street, slowing as they passed the parked car.
She's looking right at me. Oh, God.
Emily slid down in her seat, her pulse deafening. Don't move, don't breathe. When she dared to look, the porch was empty. The door was shut, but the silence screamed, her hands shaking. She jammed the key and started the engine, gravel crunching as she pulled away. In the rear view mirror, the house retreated. Its lamplit window a single unblinking eye. The county clerk's office stood under a gray sky, its flaking paint offering no warmth. Emily pushed through the door, jaw set. She filled out a request form with the Callahan address and the date. The clerk at the counter said nothing. Minutes later, a thin file was placed in her hands. She opened it at a microfilm reader, the fluorescent light humming overhead. The death certificate was a stark, typed page. Lucas Callahan, 6 months old, home address 14 Oak Lane, cause of death, accidental asphyxiation, found unresponsive in his crib. The words blurred.
A crib accident. He suffocated in that room, and they never let go.
Her stomach clenched. The monitor wasn't a paranormal trick. It was a window into a preserved tragedy. She pictured the tiny hand on the screen, the fist against the lens. That had been Lucas. With trembling hands, she made a copy of the certificate, the clerk stamping it without meeting her eyes. She stumbled outside, the cold air slicing her lungs. The truth felt heavier than the locked door. She walked to her car in a fog, the copy of the death certificate folded stiffly in her pocket. Inside, she locked the doors and sat motionless, staring through the windshield at the gray nothing.
He died in his crib. The monitor. They kept watching him, even after he was gone.
The image surfaced again, that tiny fist pressing against the lens, blind and searching.
They never unplugged it. 8 years of that green glow in the hallway. It was their way of holding on. But was it also holding him here?
She rested her head on the steering wheel, the cold from the window seeping into her skin.
The laugh, though, that wasn't grief. That was something else.
Pity and dread locked inside her chest, refusing to let the other win. She had a name now, a cause, but the decision of what to do with it was still unmade. The weeks bled into each other, each night bringing the same green-tinged dream of a tiny hand reaching for nothing.
If I could just tell Mrs. Callahan I understand, that I don't blame them, but it would only make it worse.
She'd drafted the email a dozen times, deleting each one before her courage failed. The family deserved privacy. She told herself the story would fade if she just stopped picking at the wound. So she waited, but one cold night, aimlessly scrolling local headlines, a name jumped out and slapped her back to reality. This headline read, "Callahan family moves after years of grief." The subtext hinted at a long-hidden family tragedy.
They're leaving. After all these years, they're finally selling the house. Maybe they're finally letting go. Or maybe something forced them out.
Her cursor hovered over the link, a knot tightening in her chest. The truth she'd buried was about to be unearthed. She clicked. The page loaded, and the past came rushing back. The article detailed the Callahans' decision to sell the house after 8 years of private grief.
They've been living with that locked room all this time. 8 years.
The journalist described the nursery, preserved exactly as it had been on the day Lucas died. The crib, the mobile, the baby monitor, still plugged in, a vigil for their lost son. Emily's blood ran cold. The monitor was real. The crib was there, hidden behind that locked door.
I saw it. I saw the hand move. The laugh. It wasn't just a recording.
She pictured the green glow, the tiny fist pressing against the lens, and the sound that had chased her. The article spoke only of sorrow, of a family unable to let go. It didn't mention laughter.
They kept the monitor on for comfort, but something else was using it.
She stared at the screen, the pieces forming a shape more terrifying than ignorance had ever been. The article included an embedded video, a short interview with Mrs. Callahan herself.
We couldn't bear to change his room. It was the last place he was alive, the last place we felt whole.
She's been living with a ghost of her own making.
We'd watch the monitor sometimes, just sit in the hallway and watch to feel close to him again.
They used the monitor as a grief ritual, but the laugh, could it have been a recording from another child?
The interviewer asked nothing about strange sounds, and Mrs. Callahan offered no explanation for the things Emily had heard.
She doesn't know. Or she's chosen to ignore it.
They say time heals, but for us, time just made the silence louder. The monitor helped. It let us pretend.
The video ended, leaving Emily suspended between a rational explanation and the dark unknown.
I'll never know if that laugh was a recording, a grief hallucination, or something else entirely.
The screen darkened, and in the reflection, Emily saw a stranger, someone who had trespassed on a family's deepest wound.
They never mentioned Lucas that night. They hired me to watch Sophie, not to uncover their grief. That door wasn't a warning for me. It was a lock on their own sanity.
She imagined the years of silence. The monitor's glow, the only company in that hallway.
But their vigil became an invitation. Something heard them listening.
She understood now. The double pay wasn't for silence about a secret, but for the terror they knew she'd felt.
They were paying me to pretend it never happened, the same way they'd been pretending for 8 years.
The mystery wasn't solved. It was exhausted. She closed the laptop and let the room fall into perfect black.
I won't dig anymore, but I'll never forget that laugh or the tiny hand pressing against the lens.
She sat unmoving, the night pressing in. The memory of that green glow, the only thing she couldn't switch off. Minutes passed before she reached out and twisted the lamp switch, flooding the dark with amber light. The lamp carved a small island of warmth in the chilly room, pushing the shadows back to the corners.
Sophie will grow up in a new house, never knowing about the room at the end of the hall.
A chill passed through her as the laugh echoed once more in memory. Innocent, chilling, and somehow eternal. Her phone on the armrest buzzed, the screen lighting up with a new babysitting request from a local family.
Not tonight, not ever again, maybe.
She set the phone down on the armrest, screen now dark, and let the silence settle around her. The lamp's glow was steady now, a quiet sentinel against the dark. She didn't wipe the tear that traced her cheek. It was for Lucas, for the family, and for the part of her that would never feel quite safe again. She left the lamp on, letting its light hold the memory at bay until morning finally came. Morning light crept through the window, pale and thin, mixing with the lamp's amber glow. Emily remained in the armchair, eyes closed, the weight of a sleepless night etched on her face. The phone lay dark on the armrest, its unanswered request a silent testament to her decision. The camera pulled back, framing the apartment window against the waking city. The last night lights faded. Inside, Emily was a small silhouette against the pale dawn, the lamp's warm pool shrinking as day took hold. A ghostly superimposition. The grandfather clock from the Callahan house materialized over the window, hands still at 11. The pendulum swung once, silent, then the image dissolved into the growing light. Emily didn't move. The lamp kept burning, a stubborn star against the encroaching morning. The screen faded to black. In the silence, a faint, echoing child's laugh rang out, then nothing. The laughter died away, leaving only the whisper of a story that would never fully end.